Hello everyone, it's the Night Nerd, and am I the only one that likes physical games anymore?
Video games, we love to play them and then proceed to shit on everyone's taste that doesn't correspond with ours. But there's one thing all of us gamers have in common, and that's having to pay for the damn things. That's a story for another day. I'm sure that my experiences will resonate with many of you Nigerian gamers and many African gamers as a whole. Also remember, everything here is my opinion and mine alone, and hey, if you're not African, maybe you'll find this slightly entertaining and will fill the void that is staying at home also instead of losing your virginity, you dirty dog. Video game stores and resellers have been integral to the video game community for almost as long as home consoles have existed. Back in the day, for all the 12-year-olds who only play Fortnite,
There are other games?
people would go to game stores not only to play games but to hang out and play free demos. The community around game stores was really cool, but I can already hear you thinking, yes, I can do that. That's all in the West. Didn't you say this was about buying games in Nigeria? And to that I respond, yes, and technically no. See, I got my first game console when I was like 5 years old, the Nintendo Wii, and honestly, if you didn't have this thing, you had no childhood. My first games on it were Wii Sports, which came bundled in with the system, Wii Fit because my mom thought it would be a good idea, and Wall-E based on the Pixar film. But being a movie tie-in game, I got bored of it quite quickly. Not to say I didn't play them, I had my fair share of them, but just like any child who has a games console and wasn't born after 2008, I wanted more games. Being really young when I got my first game console, the only way I could get new games was to trade with friends or beg my parents to buy me something for my birthday or Christmas. But there weren't many game stores in Nigeria at the time, and the only one I can remember clearly was Game at the Palms Mall. They sell everything from furniture to electronics to food and drink. They really have it all. But when I was younger, I only really cared about the game section at the back.
And oh me, oh my, was it a game section?
They had a massive television that always had people trying out games and playing different demos, and they had all the major systems with different variations as well as handhelds. They even had some nice couches so parents could sit comfortably while their kids picked out the game they wanted. And over the years, you could tell that whoever was the manager of that space really cared about wanting to make it special, because when the PS Vita came out, they recreated a giant Vita frame over the TV, so it looked like you were playing a giant Vita. Cool touches like that really gave the place some life and made me fall in love with it as a kid.
But for all the love I give this place, there were some major issues it had.
Firstly, all the games were locked behind this glass case, so you couldn't just take out the game you wanted yourself. You had to get an employee and get them to open the case for you. And this always took some of the magic away from this place. And the second big thing that I hated was the price for these games. Even when I was younger, I knew that the standard price for games was around £50 or $60, but because all of our games were imported, the prices would skyrocket. Most of the time, games would be almost double the price compared to its price in the West, which made it really hard to convince my parents, or anyone else for that matter, to buy games. Also, this place was like a 40-kilometer drive from where I lived at the time, so I had to not only convince my parents to take me there, which ate up their weekend, but I also had to convince them why Wii Sports Resort and Wii Sports weren't the same thing.
This one has sword fighting.
But a few select people had heard of another way to get games here in Nigeria. There was talk of another game store that wasn't too far away from Game, but this one had games for a way cheaper price and is forever been known as the store above Game, because it was literally upstairs in the same mall. This one didn't have the same sense of magic and wonders Game had. The section for games was a lot smaller and didn't have a demo running. But the games went behind a glass case and were a lot cheaper, so for me it worked, but it still wasn't the traditional game store experience I hoped for. As time moved on, I realized that there were so many games I wasn't getting the opportunity to play because they weren't being imported to Nigeria. Luckily, my parents went to the UK regularly, so I could ask them to buy me a game once in a while. Only problem was I had no idea what games I really wanted, so they would always bring something that they thought I would enjoy. This bagged me games such as Sonic and the Secret Rings and Super Paper Mario. They weren't games that were particularly amazing in terms of ratings and critical acclaim, but as a kid they were fun, and I appreciated them because it was what I had. Eventually I went to boarding school, and my only option to get new games was to order them so I could receive them immediately I got back home and jump right in. I had no social life in my pre to mid teens. So I started looking for online stores that sold games and games accessories. The biggest and most well known is definitely Jumia, who are like African Amazon, but they take way too long to get things delivered to you, and god damn it, I like to have my games as soon as possible. So Jumia wasn't for me. My only other option was to use a dedicated site just for games. Many of them are clunky and honestly quite ugly to look at, but they get the job done. I chose to use So Games. At first, they were great. I used them to order my copy of Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Horizon Zero Dawn. They had a great library of games, not as much as I would have liked, but a larger breadth nonetheless, with great prices to boot. Another thing that made them stand out from the crowd was their delivery time. So Games would almost always deliver my games on the day I ordered them or the next day. They were truly a phenomenal distributor. But I should have known that wouldn't have lasted for long. Nothing really does in Nigeria. I recently pre-ordered Ghost of Tsushima on their website, a game I've been anticipating for the better part of 2 years. I waited all day for the game to arrive when I expected it to, frantically calling the office over and over again. But it turns out that they cancelled my order because they couldn't get through to me, even after telling me my order was processed via email. They said they were going to send me an email to get through to me, but never did. And this kind of disorganization and miscommunication is just unacceptable. I'll put my hands up and say, yeah, I didn't use a Nigerian phone number on the website, but it shouldn't matter since they had my email. They did say that they would get the game to me 2 days after it was supposed to come, and it did, but it's just disappointing that they can't be dependable and consistent. Something that really irked me was the fact that they didn't give me the pre-order edition like they showed on their website. They gave me the standard edition instead. And I mean, it's fine, I got the game, but it's just really annoying that they can fool customers by doing things like this. Now we're on to the bane of my existence. Digital games. People pay for games online on their console and then download the software and go on from there. Only problem is, here in Nigeria, the vast majority of people don't have decent internet connection. So it literally takes days, if not weeks, to download games, which makes it literally the last option for a lot of people. But the sales are really, really good. There isn't a definitive way you should buy games in Nigeria. On the one hand, buying games digitally can bag you some crazy deals and save you a lot of money, but on the other hand, they take forever to download. But if you're like me and like physical games, you'll end up forcing yourself to put up with ordering games online and dealing with the slow delivery times and clunky websites. To be honest, going to a gaming store is kind of out of the question for me. Their prices are just way too high compared to everyone else, and many of them don't receive games as soon as they come out unless it's FIFA or Call of Duty. What should I do next? Leave it in the comment section.
Okay, you gave me a lot of shit for not playing other games, but once you hear this, you'll be impressed. You know that I have taste. Okay, what is it? Fortnite!